What if the reason that you're still stuck in a relationship with your narcissistic mother or father isn't really about love, but it's more about maybe someday things will get better because I'll get money? Many adult children of narcissists do feel that if they can just withstand a few more years, then taking all of that toxic relationship dynamic can be worth it in the end. Hi, my name is Tari Lima. For the past 10 years, I've been helping adult children of narcissists gain psychological sovereignty and independence to live a life where they call the shots. In today's video, we're going to talk about how inheritance can sometimes be a trap for people that are trying to break free from toxic family dynamics. And yes, some of these people stand to gain millions of dollars if they just can withstand the family. Now listen, I did not come from a rich family, so maybe if I did have millions to receive, I wouldn't have gone no contact. Who knows? But the reality is I've also seen people hold on to inheritance in situations where it made no sense and it wasn't worthwhile at all. I've seen adult children of narcissists waiting for their mother or father to die for them to receive a tiny little strip of land in a place in the country that they hated. But the reality is that these people felt so small and inadequate, they thought they wouldn't be able to make it in life without that tiny little piece of land that they hated. So regardless of the situation, whether you have millions to receive or not, the pattern is the same. People just stick around hoping it'll be worth it when their parents finally pass away. I've heard one of my clients say, I don't really feel love. I feel almost like I don't exist, but I just stick around because I figure, hey, maybe one day it'll be worth it. So I just keep trying to mend the relationship. That's not only sad and painful, it's also a way to sell off the autonomy that you have over your own life. And I want to make it clear that I'm not judging you. I know what a scarcity mindset is, and I know what it's like to feel that life is scary and everything's a threat, right? You need to hold on to what you have. I just want you to know that I think you have better things in store for you if you're willing to go through an individuation process where you develop your skills as an adult so that you become less emotionally and financially dependent on your family. Now, there are cases where it's the adult child that will stick around and the inheritance isn't really actively used against them. But there are cases where the narcissistic parent will actively use future faking and the promise of, hey, all of this is going to be yours someday, to have that child do what they want them to do. So when we're dealing with the second situation, let me make it clear, this is not generosity. This is intermittent reinforcement wrapped up with future faking. Because if you stop and you observe what's going on in your life, then the promise of reward is always in the future and the mistreatment is always happening in the now. This imbalance creates a psychological hook where you're always thinking that maybe next time, maybe in the future, things will get better. But promised future reward does not equal present safety. It doesn't even equal actual future reward. So pause and let that sink in a little bit. And while you're pausing and reflecting on all of this, let's unveil 3 specific ways that this type of waiting for future inheritance dynamic actually keeps you small and stuck. The first way that it does this is through hope. We just cling to the possibility that things will get better, even though we have no concrete reason to believe this. The second way this keeps you stuck is through fear. A lot of people fear that they will lose everything if they rock the boat, if they say something their parents disagree with, or if they're a little bit more assertive in setting boundaries. And the third way that this keeps you stuck is through guilt. After everything your parents have done for you, after everything that they've offered you, all of the resources that they've made available to you, are you really going to set boundaries and ask for basic respect now? But the reality is that all of these heavy emotions keep us emotionally frozen and also make us believe that we're a lot smaller than we actually are. I personally think that if you have a desire inside of you, it's quite unlikely that you don't have the wherewithal to learn how to actually achieve that desire. So if you feel somewhere inside that you want to be financially independent and have no ties with your family, I believe that you have the potential to become just that. So let's see how this applies using a couple of fictional stories. Let's meet Maria. Maria's mother constantly criticizes her. She says she's ungrateful, difficult, and that she's lucky that she's still around because, you know what, Maria is hard to love and she's lucky that at least her mother loves her. But then once in a while, her mother will say something like, don't worry, you'll be taken care of. All of this is going to be yours someday. That's why we're fighting so hard to maintain it. So every time that Maria thinks about leaving, this little voice whispers in her mind, yeah, but you're throwing your entire future and life away. And then what happens is the way that Maria interacts with her family system changes from, is this healthy for me, to, am I being submissive enough to not rock the boat and therefore earn my place. You stop asking if you're being treated well and if things make sense in that relationship, and you just start asking yourself how you can manipulate the situation so as to receive what you want, regardless of really bad treatment. And this is going to mean invariably never stepping into the life where you're the one who chooses and calls the shots. Is that what you want? That's not what I want for you. Now, it's not just about losing inheritance. It could also be about losing a place in the family and losing your identity. For example, Raphael's father has built a successful business, and Raphael started working alongside him when he was a teenager. Their relationship is marked by emotional punishment, the silent treatment, sarcasm, passive aggressiveness, and disrespect. But growing up, Raphael constantly heard, "Imagine this could all be yours someday." So he started building a self-image that involved being the powerful owner of a very big company. As an adult, Raphael tolerates disrespect and shapes his life around his father. But it's not just around his father, because he's not just scared of losing that relationship. He's scared of losing that whole identity that he has been building since he was a kid, as well as losing that whole life that he planned for himself. So questioning his father doesn't feel like just rocking the boat or losing money. It feels like losing an identity. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's say you're Maria or Raphael. Let's say that you were waiting around for this reward, but let's say that there wasn't any reward. No inheritance, no money, no future maybe. Sit with that a little bit. And let me ask you a question. Would the dynamics in the relationship that you are tolerating still make sense if there were no reward? You don't even have to answer fast. Just sit with it and observe what you feel in your body. How does your body react? When you imagine the future consequences of this relationship the way that it is, do those consequences appeal to you? By the way, if you're getting any value from this video, then smash that subscribe button, like, and leave a comment below. Also, sign up for your free webinar, How to Break Free from Narcissistic Family Systems. Click in the link in the description below. All right, so back to our topic. We can see that giving up on inheritance is not just giving up on money. It can mean giving up on validation, recognition, having an identity, having a family unit, finally being seen, finally being respected. It could also just mean finally having all of the disrespect pay off. But the reality is that staying in these dynamics doesn't really guarantee that you will be seen, validated, be part of a healthy family unit, or any of that. It may just extend the suffering. So if you want to better observe how all of this is impacting you, for the next 7 days, every time you're interacting with your narcissistic mother or father from whom you hope to gain this inheritance, ask yourself, am I showing up freely or negotiating a future reward? Just notice what's going on. No judgment here. Just start noticing how much of what you think, do, and say is actually attached to a possible future reward. Now, if you're ready to break out of these invisible contracts, if you want to rebuild a life where your worth is not negotiated through suffering, then watch our free webinar, How to Break Free from Toxic Family Systems. Click on the link in the description below. So to wrap this up, if you're waiting around for inheritance, I understand, I don't judge, but I think maybe you weren't meant to sit around living your life waiting for permission, waiting for validation, waiting for a payout. I invite you to reflect on what your life, self-esteem, and resiliency would look like in 5 years' time if you started actually giving yourself permission to follow your own values nowadays. If this makes sense to you and you want to watch more content like this, then watch this video next.